Well, good evening, everybody, and emphasis on evening. It is a late show and a late game in Calgary on this Monday night. And thank you so much for tuning in to the Warmies. Live here from the Sports Interaction Studio, Mike Gould along with you as the Calgary Flames getting set to play an inexplicable 8 p.m. Mountain start Monday night game tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs at the Scotiabank Saddledome. Should be fun. Should be a good game. These are a couple teams that have had their, let's say, ups and downs. Perhaps in both cases, more downs than ups. But in any event, these are a couple of teams that maybe will be relatively evenly matched this evening. And we should start off with some of the betting lines from the good folks over at Sports Interaction, where every game is your game. From puck drop to overtime, bet with Canada's homegrown sportsbook, 19 plus. Please play responsibly at sportsinteraction.com/Flames Nation. And as we have a look at this one over at SI, it is the Leafs who are slightly favored at minus 115 as opposed to the Flames at minus 105. It's very close. The over-under set at 6 and the spread at 1.5. This is interesting. A couple of preset same-game parlays, and as you might expect, they're both very Leafs heavy. If the Leafs win the game and there's an Austin Matthews anytime goal, you can get on that one at plus 200. Or an anytime goal scored John Tavares with over 6.5 goals and a Maple Leafs win, again, at plus 575. So that's a couple of pre-built SGPs over at Sports Interaction. The Flames come into this game at 22, 26, and 6 for 50 points in 54 games. They snapped a 5-game losing streak the other night. And the Leafs coming in, they are 25, 21, and 9. The Leafs are 9 points up on the Flames, but they are also 14th in their conference because the East is much stronger than the West this year. The Leafs, as it stands right now, they are 8 points out of a playoff spot as we come into today's action. The Flames, well, they are 10 points out of a playoff spot. So really not in very different spots as we look into it, heading into things on this Monday evening. It's a very big day in the hockey world, a very newsy day. There's lots to get into. The Flames making a trade earlier today. We'll talk about that here shortly. We do want to just sort of kick things off the top, recognizing something very unfortunate that happened earlier today that impacts our local hockey community very close to the heart. This is really, really sad. This is 3 young hockey players playing for the Southern Alberta Mustangs junior hockey team in Staveley, Alberta, who died in a crash on QE2 earlier today. This is just horrible news. We just want to make sure that our thoughts are sent out to the families and next of kin with Caden Fine, JJ Wright, and Cameron Casorso. It's just horrible news and the sort of thing that always just gets your emotions running, and you never like to see anything like that. And so we really want to make sure that all of our thoughts are expressed with those close and near and dear to those impacted in that. It's a horrible thing. And but the thing is, hockey is something that brings folks together, and hopefully those families are able to find solace. We do understand there will be a moment of silence at the Saddledome tonight prior to opening puck drop. So one more time, just our thoughts with all of them. On the hockey front for the Calgary Flames, earlier today, we did see a trade that happened. This is the Calgary Flames and the Dallas Stars hooking up on a deal. And this is a deal that I don't want to say has been telegraphed or anything. Obviously, there's been lots of discussion out there in the public sphere about Calgary and Dallas possibly being good trade partners. But this is a more minor trade. Now, the writing was on the wall to a certain degree. This is a Jeremy Poirier going from Calgary to Dallas in exchange for another defenseman, Gavin White. Poirier is a lefty. White is a righty. The Flames, it's funny. They have so many righties as far as like Zane Parekh and Hunter Bustevich and all the like, but they actually don't have a whole lot of organizational depth on the right side. They have a lot of star-ish players on that side, but not a lot of bodies on the right side. So this is really just a move to address that for the Wranglers going forward. They've been playing a lot of lefties on the right side, sort of out of necessity this year. So they get a natural righty in Gavin White, who, has been sort of a less established pro with the Texas Stars over the last 3 seasons. He certainly hasn't had the same offensive years that we've seen from Jeremy Poirier with the Calgary Wranglers. But by the same token, Poirier, a third-round pick of the Flames back in 2020, and a guy who had kind of lost his spot in the organization. We've seen this guy put up 40-plus points multiple times with the Wranglers in their first year after coming up from Stockton, which was a very strong season where they won 51 games. He was arguably not their number one, but definitely a top pairing option for them, and definitely had a lot of power play upside with them. But what we saw as the years went on, and especially after a severe injury that he suffered in his second pro season, just definitely didn't quite have the same adeptness on the back end that the Flames needed from a player who was playing his minutes. And this season, only 6 points in 33 games as his power play responsibilities were ceded to other players. So definitely looked like a move was happening. And I had a piece that came out at Flames Nation about a week ago talking about sort of a stock watch for Flames prospects in the organization. And I said that with Poirier, he was unlikely to be qualified as a restricted free agent to the end of the season. And I still believe that. And so this is a move that the Flames made where they're moving a player who, despite having had some good AHL seasons, was not in their future plans. And so getting, just another piece to try out, give the rest of the season to, very similar to a deal the Flames made with Dallas a couple of years ago where they traded Emilio Pettersson to Dallas for Riley Damiani. And of course, neither of those players are even signed to NHL contracts anymore. But these just are the kinds of deals that happen kind of 7 days a week. Not quite, but they're pretty dime a dozen when you look at it in the overall scheme of things. So I don't know if it's indicative of anything else happening. I think it's just a piece of business that made a lot of sense. The Flames just needed to clear out a body on the left side and get one on the right. And so that is a piece of news that came out earlier today. And we will get into some of the other discussions about possible trade targets probably after we discuss some of the main pieces related to tonight's game. It is the Flames. It is the Toronto Maple Leafs. It is at 8:00 p.m. Mountain Time at the Saddledome. And we'll kick things off today by having a look at the lineups for the Calgary Flames. Of course, subject to change as the warm-ups continue. We will keep an eye on the lines being tweeted out live from the Saddledome. But we're not expecting to see a whole lot of difference tonight, with one exception, of course. And we'll get to that on defense in a moment. But up front, it is pretty much what we've come to expect. Obviously, Justin Kirkland clearing waivers today, being assigned by the Flames to the American Hockey League's Calgary Wranglers. This, to me, kind of looked like it was coming after they put Marty Pospisil back at center, which is a position that he has played relatively frequently throughout his career to date. And now he's back at 4C between Ryan Lomberg and Adam Klapka. What that means, Joel Farah will be back in the top 6 on a semi-permanent basis, playing with Nazem Kadri and Connor Zary. That Backlund, Sharangovich, Coronado line stays together, as does Matt Gridden with Morgan Frost and Jonathan Huberdeau. So obviously the Flames coming off of a win over the San Jose Sharks a couple of days ago didn't look like they were going to make a huge change to their roster, and they haven't, at least not up front. On the defensive side of things, though, there is one big talking point that has dominated a lot of the discourse today, and that is Zane Parekh coming back into the Calgary Flames lineup for the first time since early November. It has been a season defined by stops and starts for Zane Parekh, who started the season in the NHL, ended up sustaining an injury, went back to the World Juniors, after missing some time, sustained another injury at the World Juniors, had to sit out a little bit after he got back from the tournament, ended up going down to the Wranglers, put up 5 points in 4 games, and now he's back in the NHL with the Calgary Flames. Playing tonight on a pairing with Joel Hanley, of course, Parekh wearing 19, not number 89. But it's exciting. I mean, with Zane, it has been a season, I think, that has probably taught him a fair amount. We have seen and heard a lot from the Flames folks as we head into the Olympic break. The directive is, Zane, we want you to gain muscle. We want you to gain strength. Zane is a 19-year-old kid, and I am no closer to making a decision on what I think Zane Parekh's upside is as an NHL player based on the 11 games that we've seen from him this year than I was before those 11 games were played. This is all developmental stuff that we're seeing right now. And I think the upside with Zane is tremendous. I wish he could play the season in the American Hockey League. And quite frankly, my expectation is that he will start next season in the American Hockey League. Flames need guys to play on the right side down there, and they also need him to put up numbers. And with Zane, we've seen a short amount of time for him down there where he has looked quite natural. He had a tough first game, as you might expect, being on the shelf for a little while. Goes down to the A level. To me, doesn't look great in his first American League game. And then the 3 games after that, he has 5 points in 3 games. I mean, he was clearly ready to play at that level. So I'm super excited to see Zane again tonight. I am not hinging the future of his career or his development on what we see tonight. But if he plays well, if he performs, then that's great. So really looking forward to seeing that. And yeah, I mean, I see some folks here talking about Matvei Gridin as well. And I think we take for granted sometimes just, when we see these guys who are able to jump in so quickly, that's uncommon. There aren't a whole lot of guys who can really do that. And Matvei, I mean, it's been, it hasn't been a seamless transition to the NHL, but it's been one where he has shown he is capable of doing certain things. And I think we can say the same about Zane as well, even if the raw numbers haven't been there. So, and this is a very good point made by Jason as well. It is extremely difficult for a 19-year-old at any position to play in the NHL, but most certainly as a defenseman. That is a very tough position to play at as a young kid. And so with Zane going forward, I just hope we see gradual development. And I think we're going to be happy with what we see at a certain point. It has been a fun time to follow the Flames prospects, of course. Ethan Wyttenbach is now the leading scorer in all of NCAA Division hockey, Division I hockey rather, after putting up 3 points against Clarkson the other night. He's up to 41 points in 28 games at Quinnipiac. And, I see a lot of people talking about how it's Quinnipiac. He's playing against lesser competition. Well, my counter to that is if it was really that easy, anyone would do it. And we've never really seen an 18-year-old freshman do something like this at Quinnipiac. It's, even if you're saying, okay, it's not like he's playing at Boston College or BU or Minnesota or Denver or what have you. To me, the easiest analog to make with Ethan Wyttenbach right now is what we saw maybe with Jaden Schwartz 15 years ago. He was a higher draft pick, of course, but he played at Colorado College, which is not a premier NCAA. It's a good program, but it's not like the Minnesota or Denver or what have you. And similar level of production in his first year, similar size, stature, and came out of the USHL with similar production, just like Wyttenbach did, and is now 15 years later, a Stanley Cup champion with over 500 NHL points. That to me, if Wyttenbach was doing this at Minnesota, I'd be ready to say this is Goudreau stuff. If he was doing this at Niagara, I'd be ready to say, okay, well, let's see a little bit more. At Quinnipiac, I feel like Schwartz is a relatively strong middle of the line comparable for him. So, but yeah, there's lots of reason to be excited about the Flames prospect pool as we continue forward here into January, and especially if the Vegas Golden Knights continue to make the Flames' other first-round pick look even better as we head into the 2026 NHL draft. We'll get into the other games on the docket tonight in a moment, but now let's have a look at what the Toronto Maple Leafs are trotting out for tonight's game against the Calgary Flames. They also have a notable change on the defense. We'll get to that in a moment. But for now, it is Austin Matthews between Max Domi and Bobby McMann. Is that future Edmonton Oiler Bobby McMann? We'll have to wait and see. On line number 2 is John Tavares with William Nylander and Matthias Machelli. Nick Waugh, the return for Mitch Marner, on line with Nick Robertson and Matthew Nyes. And then it is Scott Lawton centering Calle Yarncroke and Steven Lorentz on line number 4. It's not a terrible forward group for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's certainly not as good as ones that we have seen in the past. It has certainly not led them to much success this season. The Leafs are well outside the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference, and they're not that much closer tonight after the Buffalo Sabres have already wrapped up a 5-3 win over the Florida Panthers, putting their playoff position even stronger as we move forward here. On the back end for the Toronto Maple Leafs, there is no Morgan Rielly tonight, which makes an already thin defensive group look even more so. It is Jake McCabe and Brandon Carlo on the top pairing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. OEL with Troy Stetcher on pairing number 2, an ex-Yotes pairing if I've ever seen one, and then Simon Benoit and Phil Myers on the third pair for the Leafs. This is just a disastrous defensive group. It is not a playoff caliber defensive group, if you ask me. And quite frankly, I mean, even with Morgan Rielly, who has 31 points in 54 games this year, it's not good. And that is sort of exacerbated by what we see with this stat, which is that without Morgan Rielly in the lineup, the Maple Leafs since 22-23 are 23-5-1. This coming from Sam McKee. Over his whole career, they are 46-21-7 without him in the lineup. So maybe addition by subtraction for the Leafs with no Morgan Rielly tonight, but I don't know. It is an interesting one to be certain as we move into this game. I still don't know what Brad Treliving thought he was getting when he made that Brandon Carlo trade. To me, it always, he was never a guy who really played 20 plus minutes a game with the Boston Bruins. And the Leafs, I mean, they have lost so many deals with Boston. Like I'm surprised for one, they even make so many deals with each other to begin with. It's like, to me, if we saw the Flames and Oilers make a big deal with each other every 4 years, that's what the Leafs and the Bruins do with Dougie Hamilton and Tyler Seguin going to Boston for Phil Kessel back in the day, Tuukka Rask for Raycroft. That was a deal that I'm sure the Leafs would like a do-over on. And of course, now this deal with Fraser Minton going to Boston and looking like maybe a future top 9 center, maybe more. It is certainly a strange one, but what can you say? It's not something that it's not like it's something that we haven't seen Brad Treliving do before. He made a very similar deal with Travis Hamonic back in the day from the New York Islanders, but Carlo to me is even less established than Hamonic was. It's like if they made that trade for Zach Whitecloud. Like I just don't get it. But in any event, that's what we're looking at with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Brandon Carlo on their top pairing in tonight's game. For the Flames in goal tonight, it will be Dustin Wolf. He is 16-20-3 with an .897 save percentage this year. I've seen some folks recently saying Dustin Wolf has taken a step back this season, and I don't disagree necessarily, but by the same token as well, we have to keep in mind how the league is trending. We are seeing more and more goaltenders in this league now with 840, 850, 860 save percentages. 897 actually is above average if we go by the overall scheme of things this season. Dustin Wolf had a 910 last year, and that is impressive. It was legitimately impressive. What we are seeing this year, though, is not like he's regressed down to being one of the worst goalies in the league. It's not even close. It is something where he is sort of just a little bit above average, which on this Calgary team is quite a lot above average. This is a bottom 3 team in the National Hockey League if you go by raw talent. So Dustin Wolf, I think, has done just fine in his games this year. Some good comments so far in the Super Chat. Well, not in the Super Chat. No Super Chats yet. You can get your Super Chats in. They benefit the youth centers of Calgary. But some good comments in the chat so far. Mr. Watts saying, sorry for my comments on the last stream about you being on every show but the main one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to see me so much. I decided to try and improve my camera presentation just for you. I got the haircut. I got the bright orange sweater, the Sports Interaction orange, trying to make it a little bit more palatable, because I know it's not exactly a sight for sore eyes when you see me on camera. So we have to make it as easy to digest as possible. I'm just kidding. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. And hey, you know what? You're right. If Pinder can get on the main show, you're right. Anyone can. So we appreciate that, Mr. Watts. There was another one earlier on that I really, really liked. This was from Ken, the ultimate first liner. Warmies is the peppermint latte of Nation Network. No one will admit to liking it, but can't live without it. Thumbs up to Mike Gould. That's very kind. And quite frankly, I actually do really enjoy peppermint mochas. I'm not so much a latte. Peppermint mocha, absolutely, all day long. So that's right there. That's sort of like synergy. You didn't know that, but you did know that somehow. This is a good question, Mr. Watts. Let's play the hypothetical game. What if Wyttenbach was draft eligible this year? Where would you have him going? Well, I mean, if Wyttenbach was draft eligible this year and he was having this NCAA season before he was drafted, he'd be going first overall. Like he's on par with McKenna right now as far as production is going. If you're talking like this year and he hadn't been drafted last year, then probably in like the second or third round. Like, this is very impressive what he's doing. It's very impressive. Maybe late first, early second. It's sort of similar to what we saw with, there's a guy named Charlie Serrato, who plays at Penn State, with Gavin McKenna. And he had a very good draft plus one season. And he ended up getting drafted by Carolina in the second round last year. He had 42 points in 38 games at Penn State, in his D+1. And he ended up going to Carolina at 49 last year. So he's a little bit bigger. He's 6 feet, 190. And he also, plays at a slightly stronger school. Not a stronger school, but a stronger conference. So that's sort of my guess. If Wyttenbach was having this year as a 18-year-old and hadn't been drafted yet, he'd probably go late second. That's my guess. And if he has another year like this, he will continue to up his stock as things go forward here. I mean, with Wyttenbach, it is not a sure thing. It is very, very encouraging. It is one of the most explosive first post-draft seasons we've seen from any Flames prospects since Dustin Wolf. Like, it's really that kind of year that he's having. Shrimp on the Barbie asking a really good question. What are the team points outside of Wyttenbach, or is he an outlier on that team? What makes it even more impressive with Ethan Wyttenbach is he is very much an outlier on this Quinnipiac team. There aren't a ton of NHL prospects on this Bobcats team. He is first with 41 points. Chris Pelosi, I think, is in second, and I think he's down at 31. He's at 30. So Wyttenbach is leading that team in scoring by 11 points. And he is one of the youngest players on that team by quite a bit. Like, if you look at the top scorers on this Quinnipiac team, Wyttenbach is first. He's 18. Chris Pelosi, a Bruins prospect, he's second. He's 21. Marcus Vidicek is 21. Antonin Verreau is 21. Mason Marcellus is 23. Aaron Schwartz is 21. Will Gilson's 24. So, like, all the leading scorers on this team are in their 20s. And then Ethan Wyttenbach is a true pure freshman. He is a 18-year-old freshman. And the thing with Wyttenbach that is also very interesting is that it is something that has been unexpected at every step. 2 years ago, Ethan Wyttenbach was playing AAA hockey on Long Island. He went to the USHL as a 17-year-old for his draft year. It was kind of unexpected. People were sort of expecting he would go to Sioux Falls and play a bit part. And he ends up being their top scorer. He ends up going to Quinnipiac for his 18-year-old year, a year earlier than people expected. He was drafted. He was expected to go back to the USHL. And he goes to Quinnipiac. I'm sort of thinking here, maybe he can be a bottom six forward on this team, and he ends up being their leading scorer by a mile, and the leading scorer in all of NCAA. So it's really fascinating stuff, and it is the sort of story and the sort of developmental win that you need when you're in this sort of rebuild. And he's not even that small. He's only 5'10". So it's not like he's 5'7". It's not like we're talking about a Matty Phillips here or a Andrew Podorowski or Nathan Gerby. It's a 5'10" player. It's the same height as Cullen Potter. Like, we're talking about a pretty mainstream forward size here. So that's very encouraging. Didn't talk about the Leafs starting goalie today. It is Joseph Woll, 12-7-4 with a .909 save percentage in 24 games for the Leafs backstop. So it is Woll versus Wolf, which I am sure will be a delight for the commentary crew at the Dome tonight. In the out of town, in tonight's NHL slate, a number of intriguing games. The St. Louis Blues, they had a 5-1 lead over the Nashville Predators. It is now 5-3. After two periods at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. Of course, that's a game that we're watching very closely tonight, as both those teams are sort of down near the bottom of the Western Conference. The Flames would really love St. Louis to win that game, though. One team that is looking like they're very much on top, the Chicago Blackhawks. Ilya Mikheyev literally just scored to make it a 5-1 lead for the Blackhawks over the San Jose Sharks. Goals also in that game from Sam Rizzo, Ryan Donato, Connor Murphy, and Connor Bedard. The Hawks very much right there with the Flames near the bottom of the NHL standings. Winnipeg up 2-1 over the Dallas Stars. Cole Perfetti and Gabe Vilardi with the goals for the Jets. Also in action, the Detroit Red Wings up 1-0 on Colorado after one period of play at the Ball Arena. Marco Kasper with his 6th goal of the year. Minnesota and Montreal are tied at 3 late. Brock Faber just tied it up for the Wild. Here's an interesting one. Vancouver and Utah. That one is tied at 1 in the first period in Utah. It is Liam Ogren who just made it a 1-1 game with his 4th of the season. And some games that have already gone final. As we mentioned earlier, the Buffalo Sabres beating the Florida Panthers by a 5-3 final score. Sabres getting goals from Tage Thompson, Peyton Krebs, Zach Benson, Jason Zucker, and Josh Doan in that victory. Ottawa edging the Penguins by a 3-2 final. Maybe Linus Ullmark's return will spark the Senators down the stretch. Mike Lamadio, Tim Stützle, and Claude Giroux with the goals for the Senators in that one. And the Washington Capitals defeating the New York Islanders by a 4-1 final score. Will Artemi Panarin be heading to Washington? That's a fit that I think makes a whole lot of sense, especially if Alex Ovechkin is about to clock out from DC. We shall see as things progress down there in Washington. The Flames and the Leafs are the late game tonight. Again, I don't know who this is for. The Flames, this is Mountain Time. It's an 8 p.m. start, which is already unruly enough as it is out here. And for the fine folks out east, they're going to be staying up past midnight to watch this game. Like, what's this for? I don't get it, but there we go. That'll be a lot of fun when we go live on Sportsnet just after the top of the hour. We will check out one more prop from the folks over at Sports Interaction, checking out the shots for tonight's game, shot props for the Calgary Flames. Over-unders set at 2.5 for Michael Backlund, Nazem Kadri, Matt Coronado, Mackenzie Weegar, and Igor Sharangovich. Set at 1.5 for Matvei Gridin, Jonathan Huberdeau, Morgan Frost, Joel Farabee, and Connor Zary. I would certainly be looking at Matvei Gridin as a player who I would look at on the over side of things. Igor had 6 shots in the last game. I would maybe look at that one as well as maybe an anytime goal score. It's been a while since we've seen, well, not a while, but a few games at least since we've seen Igor hit the back of the net. There's a few good options here. So some good choices to choose from. Matt Coronado, another strong one as well. That plus 105 at over 2.5, looking very tempting if I was betting on these ones over at Sports Interaction. One more time, any game is your game when you bet with Sports Interaction. Head on over to sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. 19 plus, please play responsibly. It brings you closer to the action with real-time betting. You can bet while the action unfolds with 100-plus markets per game, including player props, futures, and more. Build your bet with same-game parlays with easy deposits and payouts. It's a trusted Canadian brand since 1997. That pretty much sorts it all out for us. It's been, like we said, a newsy day around the National Hockey League, and the Calgary Flames playing in their penultimate game prior to the Winter Olympic break. They will go on that break on the 5th, shortly after they play host to the Edmonton Oilers at the Saddledome the night previous. For tonight's show, it'll be myself, yours truly, Mike Gould, alongside our friend Cami Kepke, live here at our studio in Marteloup. And to those in the chat asking who will have the better hair tonight, the answer is certainly not me. But we do hope you will tune in for that, even with the late start time. It's a great show. We always try to put on a little bit of a fun spectacle for you here live from Marteloup. Our thanks to Sports Interaction, to producer Michael out there in Toronto, who has to stay up real late tonight. Holy smokes. And to everybody in the chat, everybody in the comments, to the folks over at the Youth Centers of Calgary. There's not a whole lot more I can say. Al Grundau saying, lol, Mike Gould, you talk about the Oilers every podcast rent free. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. There's no better way to end off this show than just acknowledge that. We appreciate y'all. Never change. Never stop being you. And I will, to most of you, see you back here in a couple of hours after the Flames take on the Leafs at the Saddledome. One more time, my name is Mike Gould, and live from the Sports Interaction studio, you've been watching this edition of the Warmies.
Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.